chilly, though not unpleasant, January day, and I've just completed the short walk to this church, St Mary the Virgin in Twickenham, from St Margarets, where the Anthony Burgess house is to be found. St Margaret's is a dormitory town, grew up with the railway, but it is in fact part of the Twickenham postal district, Twickenham post town. This church is where Pope is buried. He's buried inside this church. We can't go in, of course. The church is closed. It's almost always closed. But my visit prompts this question. Did Burgess buy a house in Twickenham within half an hour's walk from this church? Did he do that because he wanted to write his essay on censorship in the place where Pope composed his essay on criticism and his essay on man? As a matter of fact, Pope may not have written his essay on, in fact he almost certainly did not write his essay on criticism in Twickenham, but he may very well have written his essay on man in Twickenham. He lived here for many years. His house is demolished, but a grotto remains. Is it pure coincidence that Burgess wrote his essay on censorship in the same town as where Pope lived? Or was he already living here, or had he already bought his home in St Margaret's, and the Rushdie affair blew up, and he decided, maybe he came and walked here, walked around and had a thought, reread the essay on criticism, and decided to follow the example? We can't know. When we read the essay on criticism and behold Pope's genius, we are helped, in my view, in coming to an understanding of the nature of the differences, if you can call them that, between Anthony Burgess and Graham Greene. Graham Greene, you may need reminding, was a minor novelist, writing about the same time as Burgess was. Burgess, throughout his life, was impeccably polite towards Graham Greene. Graham Greene began by being more established than Burgess. Indeed, Greene was an establishment figure. However, towards the end of Greene's life, he began to become very aggrieved by Burgess's actions. It's not clear exactly what it is that Burgess was doing which caused this upset. But the biographers, Lewis and Biswell, point to the simple fact that Burgess was appearing on television a great deal, and writing a lot of reviews. This, for some reason, this caused enormous upset in Greene. People have put this down to senility. They've said, well, this kind of thing happens. Look at Malcolm Muggeridge, who lived down the road from Burgess when he lived in Etchingham in Sussex. Malcolm Muggeridge, when he was in his last few years, lost his temper with some photographer and claimed that the photographer was trying to steal his cache of family photos or something, and it turned out to be a complete fantasy. These things happen when people get old. This is one view, that on Green's part it was pure senility. I'm afraid I take a different view. I think you have to look at Green's overweening pride throughout his life, and you'll understand why. You see, there must have been a consciousness in Green that, although he was a popular novelist, the novels are mainly middle-brow stuff with Catholic mumbo-jumbo tossed in. Green must have felt that though he was a popular novelist and sold well, nevertheless he was in this second rank. And there must have been a consciousness that Burgess was producing works of high importance. And that must have been difficult to accept. I think if you want to understand what was going on with Green when he wrote this hate mail to Burgess, you really need to return to Pope. I tend to use this edition of the major works. It's edited by Pat Rogers over the University of South Florida. It's this section of an essay on criticism which I find to be most useful in understanding the pathology, the psychopathology of Graham Greene. It goes like this. Of all the causes which conspire to blind man's erring judgment and misguide the mind, what the weak head with strongest bias rules is pride, the never failing vice of fools.